This, you could ride this any day of the year, in any condition, on any type of terrain, and you'd nail it. Today we're really excited to introduce you guys to the Kove 450 Rally Regular Edition. This is a bike that there's been much discussion around online, but until relatively recently, very few people have actually been lucky enough to get their legs over one. I was given the opportunity to ride this a couple of weeks back and wasn't really sure what to expect. I wasn't quite sure whether this is a rally bike in looks alone, or whether this is a fully fledged thoroughbred that was going to rip my arms apart and be uncompromising all day. We've seen reviews from the US, reviews from Australia, where they're blessed with massive desert expanses where you can really open this thing up and kind of get it to, you know, its raison d'etre. But in the UK, is it still relevant? Does it make sense? Well, I'm going to argue firmly yes. I've had another chance today to get to grips with the bike. So what is this Kove 450 bike? Well, it's a rally bike. So first, let's frame the discussion. What's a rally bike? Essentially, we're taking a bike that is the best parts of an enduro machine, that's to say lightweight, agile, really good off-road, and it's trying to also incorporate the best parts of an adventure bike, and that is to say something that has long range capacity and is relatively comfortable with the throttle pinned open on long rides and has relatively manageable service intervals. Those are two quite different things, and reconciling that is no mean feat. For that reason that we find that off-the-peg rally bikes from the usual manufacturers are extremely expensive. We're talking north of £20,000, and on that basis, who in their right mind that's not a die-hard enthusiast or has an incredibly deep wallet is going to be interested in a rally bike? But when you get presented with just such a machine that is designed specifically for this purpose, coming in at the price of £3 less than an equivalent displacement enduro bike from one of the main players, and on par with the price of any of those adventure bikes of the light adventure category, well, that's an interesting concept. Suddenly it opens it up to everyone, and this is unicorn territory on paper. And let's not beat about the bush. If this did not have a Kove badge, if this had a Honda or a Yamaha or a Kawasaki badge, people would be falling over themselves to call the dealers up and get one of these as quickly as they could. So this is a 450cc single cylinder twin cam overhead, which gives this very high top end speed. This has a 31 litre tank capacity, which is extraordinary. That's the range of a fully fledged rally bike. That's giving it 300 miles plus on one tank alone. It comes in at dry weight of about 145 kilos, which is comparative to any rally bike in its category. Of course, it's going to be slightly more heavyweight than some of its enduro counterparts. It comes in at £8,500 on the road price, VAT inclusive, for the Rally Regular Edition here. Going through the features, this bike is completely standard in this format. It hasn't had to be tinkered with. There hasn't been any significant investment involved in getting it to the spec I was riding today. This simply has more off-road focused tyres than what you get out of the crate. This one is also the lowered version, so it's available for about £100 extra as a factory fitted option, so the springs are set accordingly. I wouldn't call it low. It's 910 millimeters, which compared to most bikes would class it as very high. The standard one is 960, but because it's a very thin and narrow seat, it doesn't feel overly high. I had absolutely no problems on this bike whatsoever. I haven't extensively ridden the standard 960mm version, but I don't endeavour there being any problems. Seat height alone is a bit of a red herring. It's more about sag and how it feels, the width of the bike. All these things come into play, and it's very hard to simply rely on that alone. So that may scare people and think they will be too short, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. But what's it like to ride? Well, as someone who is at best an intermediate rider, this is a bike that was incredibly intuitive and lightweight and comforting and confidence inspiring, and that was what surprised me the most. So in terms of geometry, seating position, it's incredibly neutral. It literally feels sort of tailor-made as a good adventure bike. So I'm not being slid forward towards the front as I am on some more purposeful enduro bikes where it's quite uncomfortable. The seat is not like a fence post. It's nice, it's spongy. Of course it could be upgraded and improved, but it's very decent as it is. So this has got really intuitive controls. The clutch is very, very easy to find a biting point on and modulate as you go through puddles, as you go through mud, steep hills. Changing gear is very easy. The brakes are nice and responsive. They're not too powerful in the rear so that you can control it nicely. The throttle is actually very responsive as well, and the power band is really interesting to me. It's very dependable and easy to engage at low speeds, poodling along gently on navigating some of the more tricky technical bits. But once you rip this thing open and it goes past about 6,000 RPM, it's like a two-stroke and it absolutely explodes through its speed. This can cruise along at 100 miles an hour, genuinely. And that is something else that I think is really, really specific to this bike. So quickly addressing the Chinese elephant in the room. So this is a brand who have only been around since 2017. And in that time, they've already had some real successes. They have the #1 selling lightweight adventure bike in China domestically, which is quite impressive. But they actually build most of their components and use them in-house. The things that get people very hot under the collar when it comes to Chinese manufacturers primarily are the fact that the build quality has a reputation for not being top standard, and also the fact that there's a lot of copying going on. But these guys, the Kove company, have gone at this their own way. They've built a bike that of course looks like a rally bike with the body of it, but most of the parts you'll find on it, they manufacture in-house. The engine is a 450cc Zhongshen engine, which you'll find in tons and tons, millions in fact, of engines around the world. If we're going to bash China, which we perhaps rightly should do, what are we actually hoping to achieve? We're hoping to see improvement, right? We're hoping to see people pushing the boundaries when it comes to innovation and authenticity. Now, this is a company that in 2023 entered their maiden Dakar rally with 3 bikes that are almost identically spec'd to the Rally Pro that you can get for a few £1,000s more. All 3 bikes finished, which is an extremely high accolade. And for anyone not familiar with the Dakar, that is the hardest motorcycle race in the world. It will test any machine and any rider. So the fact that all 3 finished is remarkable. Not only that, they've finished relatively middle of the field up against factory teams who've been doing this year upon year. So they really should take that very seriously. That's pushing boundaries in the right direction, surely, and we should applaud that and the efforts that they're making. I think it's fair to say when we get to what it would be like to own a Kove 450, that's something of an infancy in the UK. There's relatively few early adopters at this stage, and there's a slightly underdeveloped dealer network. I'm lucky enough to have been given the bike by Off the Kerb trail riding experience in Dorking, who serve as a test ride facility for GPX, the UK distributor, and they will take you out and let you have a go and get a feel for the bikes. And it's pretty likely if you get on one of these, you would be sold. A few of the reviews, as I mentioned, that I've seen, there is one particularly good review out there, but there are a couple that I think get the categorization of this bike just a little bit wrong, because they're pitching it quite heavily as an enduro machine and saying it doesn't quite stack up against a purebred KTM 500 EXCF, for example. And that's sort of unsurprising, really, when you think about what it has to achieve, as I said earlier, beyond what you have to achieve with an enduro bike. This is something that is undeniably superior when it comes to getting on the road, those transition stages. If you were to enter this into a rally, you absolutely could, whereas you'd have to modify an enduro bike. And that's the thing, people can't buy and afford, if you even know how to get a 20 grand plus rally bike, but the people who generally get into that world take an enduro bike, spend a lot of money and time and effort modifying it, and with that comes problems that you've created for yourself by trying to customize a bike that wasn't necessarily designed for those purposes, whereas here you have something that was. It's too early to see long term, of course, what the reliability of these machines are like. They have proven to be perfectly good on the test. We've had a couple of very small niggles, according to the guys at Off the Kerb, in the first few thousand miles, but these are things that were relatively easy to be rectified. One of them, which has been known, is the fact that if you're idling in hot temperatures with the fuel sitting down so low, the exhaust tends to heat the fuel too much and you get a sort of pressure release coming up through the exit valves here, which is something that can be addressed retrofitted quite easily. There are a few parts and accessories that you can get for the bike. You can get a full titanium system for about £600, which is pretty reasonable going. The stock exhaust is really good and it has a big punch in terms of sound to it, so it's not something that everybody's going to need to do necessarily. One thing I will mention about the Rally Regular Edition, which I initially thought potentially was a bit of a missed opportunity, is the fact that this is a rally bike, as I've said, and there's no easy way to immediately mount anything above the TFT dash on the headstock, but there is a part available very cheap on a third-party website which fits it, which the distributor will be able to sort of steer into the direction of. The other thing is that every time you turn this bike on, and this is fairly consistent with a lot of the other mainstream manufacturers as well, is the ABS switch. You have to go into the screen, you have to select ABS, select which parts of it you want to disable, and then go back out. It literally takes 10 to 15 seconds, but you do need to do it every time you turn the bike off, and I'm sure someone will come up with a switch that you can do easily on the go and slightly alleviate that problem, because these are things that all of the main bikes that I can think of in reference to this have also had to go through that process. So who is the target customer for this bike? Well, we've had all sorts apparently come through and test ride it. People who are seriously into their rallying, who want to take the Rally Pro Edition to the Dakar directly. So that's very impressive. But there's people like myself, frankly. I love off-road riding. I love the green lanes that we have in the UK. And this thing absolutely demolishes them. It makes you a better rider, which is what we want from our bike. Something like my Yamaha T7, which is my primary machine, that's great. It can do all this stuff and you can have fun in spite of it, but not because of it. With the Kove, because of it, you can have an absolute amazing time. And there's nothing this can't do. Clearly, on my T7, if I'm going a few hours down the motorway, I'm going to be a happier bunny at the end of it. But it's not a massive difference in terms of comfort. This is clearly going to be slightly more snatchy on the throttle, but this is the kind of bike I'd have as a second machine to be able to do everything with. And there is this concept of a unicorn machine. This is the closest thing that I've come across to it in practice. I think it has the broadest spectrum of offering, from off-road capability to on-road capability, out of any bike on the market, which echoes what some other people have said in their reviews about it. And for that reason, I think it deserves all the attention and accolades from the people that have had a chance to ride it that it gets. It's got all the top-end power that you need, and I think any more power than this for being able to go more comfortable on the road, put it that way, then you're into the twin cylinder territory. And as soon as you introduce a twin engine into the concept, everything becomes much heavier and it moves further away from that off-road weapon territory that this bike's obviously targeting. And then we're into my other bike, the T7, and similar things to that. And there are cracking bikes in that class, but this is just easy, it's stress-free, it's simpler, and of course much lighter as a result of all that. If you wanted something like this, just as an adventure bike, and you're honest and you're not likely to do much off-road, then there's probably other bikes that are better. The upcoming Royal Enfield Himalayan, for example, that's going to be far more gentrified and far more of a true adventure bike. It's heavier and it's going to have a lot more creature comforts, and it's going to ride in a much more comfortable, forgiving manner than this does. But if you are at the sharp end of adventure, someone who wants a bike to do the Tet, for example, and you can do those on bigger bikes, you could ride this any day of the year, in any condition, on any type of terrain, and you'd nail it. It takes all the anxiety out of route planning. So if you're going to go to Wales and you're going to do some of those hard, really technical sections that can literally be impassable at certain times on a bigger bike because of the mud, steepness, and so on and so forth, this just takes the stress away. It's got the luggage attachments on the back so that you can saddle up and carry just as much as on most adventure bikes, but it's just stress-free. The big question is, on this soiree today, our second viewing, if you like, going around the Surrey Hills with this Kove 450 Rally Regular Edition, does it pull on the heartstrings as much as the first time? Well, the truth is I've had even more fun today on the bike than I did the first time out. The first time was a case of familiarity and calibrating yourself for what was coming, because I wasn't expecting the bike to be as good as it was, and it took me some time to realise just how far it could go. With me riding it, which, you know, someone without massive experience, was something I built up to. Today I set out to pretty much hit my limits as early on as I could for the review, and it's been even better. It's been even more fun for it. I feel like I've barely ridden today. I could do it all over again in a heartbeat, and I think that's the best testament of a bike. This bike is full of character, it's full of pedigree, and I think it's done in its circumstances, coming from where it has, as well as it possibly could have. And us in the adventure world, surely we've got to take our hats off to this effort that's been made by Kove, and hope that they continue to keep persuading the doubters that the bike and the brand is a credible alternative to some of the main players, and we should thank them for keeping them on their toes, because this is a bike that people want, no doubt. And I think it's a bike that I want.